Hello students, how are you all? Hope you are well and safe at home. Today I will teach you the first chapter of history, that is the British rule in India. In this chapter you are going to study about significance of dates and events, periodization in history, colonization and colonies, sources of colonial history in India, and official and non-official history of India. So, let's start the chapter.
In this class, we are going to study about the British rule in India, which began when the Mughal rule started declining in the 18th century. While studying the British rule, you will understand how different the British rulers were from those who ruled earlier and why India saw a nationalist upsurge against the British rule. So, first of all, let us see the significance of dates and events. In the study of history, dates do have relevance but only with respect to important historical events. Studying the events of the past gives us an understanding of how various civilizations developed and what brought about their ruin. For example, dates of the battles are important because they often change the course of history. The defeat of Sultan Ibrahim Lodi in the First Battle of Panipat on 21st April 1526 signaled the end of the Delhi Sultanate and the beginning of the Mughal rule in India. Similarly, the defeat of Nawab Sirajuddaula of Bengal in the Battle of Plassey on 23rd June 1757 strengthened the position of the British East India Company in Bengal and facilitated the establishment of the British rule in India. To understand the history of the Mughal and British empires in India, we need to study the important events and battles that led to the establishment of these empires and the changes these empires brought in India. In other words, we need to go back over a very long period of time. Therefore, understanding history is just not confined to the dates of some historical events. History is all about understanding the developments occurring over a period of time. So, now let us see the periodization of Indian history. Historians have also divided or periodized Indian history into ancient, medieval, and modern periods. The ancient history comprises the period of Stone Age, Bronze Age, and Iron Age, encompassing the Indus Valley civilization and the rise of the first dynasty kings and kingdoms. Transition from ancient to medieval period, according to many historians, occurred when the arrival of Turks in India. The new empire brought about profound changes in Indian culture. Again, the arrival of the British in India marked great changes in the society, and with this started the modern period in India. Earlier Scottish economist and political philosopher James Mill opted for the religion based division of Indian history in his three-volume work. A History of British India, published in 1817, Mill divided Indian history into three periods, that is, Hindu, Muslim, and British. So, what were the shortcomings of the periodization? So, now let us see the shortcomings of periodization made by British historians. Mill's periodization was widely accepted at that time, but its main flaw was that it ignored the fact that many faiths coexisted in India for centuries. It identified a period of Indian history with the religion of the rulers of that period, ignoring the other religions followed by large section of people at that time. In ancient India too, the rulers did not follow the same religion. Therefore, to characterize a period of Indian history on the basis of the ruler's religion was not appropriate. Another shortcoming in Mill's view of Indian history was that he considered India and other Asian countries socially and politically backward in comparison to European countries. He believed that before the arrival of the British in India, the country was ruled by Hindu and Muslim despots. The Indian society was afflicted by religious intolerance, caste taboos, and superstitions. Mill's view gave the impression that the Indian society was extremely backward and only the British could bring India on the path of progress. Looking at India's achievements before the arrival of the British, one cannot subscribe to Mill's views. Mill felt that the introduction of European manners, arts, institutions, and laws in India was essential to civilize the country. He believed that India would not be able to progress without British help. But the fact is that under the British rule, Indians did not have equality, freedom, or liberty. Also, India's economy declined under the British, who exploited India's resources to strengthen the English economy. Considering this aspect of the British rule, many historians refer to the British rule as the colonial period, that is, the period during which India served as a British colony. So, children, now let us understand about colonization and colony. Colonizing means sending people to live and govern another country. A settlement or country that has been colonized is called a colony. The act of colonizing or establishing colonies is called colonization. The colonized country experiences significant political, economic, social, and cultural changes brought about by the colonizing power. The British colonization policy is replete with the interesting tales of political maneuverings by the colonial masters. The British colonization policy is replete with interesting tales of political maneuverings by the colonial masters. India was seen as an important source of raw materials for the growing industries in Europe. Also, the huge population of India offered a big market for their finished products. As colonial rulers, the British established complete control over the Indian economy and society. They exploited the resources to serve their industries in Britain. The machine made clothes from English factories were sold at much cheaper price to Indian markets, thus leading to a threat for the Indian handicrafts industries. Under the British rule, the Indian society saw changes in its values and tastes, customs, and practices. So, students, you can see that how the East India Company started trading by establishing a few trading bases in India, that is, at Madras, Calcutta, and Bombay, with the permission from Indian rulers like the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. The Europeans took advantage of the political instability. Gradually, the East India Company took over, subjugating local Nawabs and Rajas through manipulation, thus taking control of much of the subcontinent. Now, let us see the sources of the colonial history of India. Historians use multiple sources to write the last 250 years of Indian history. One important source is the official records of the British administration. Writing was an important element of the British administrative culture that produced memos, notings, and reports. The British believed in preserving the information in writing as it helped in the decision making process. Therefore, the British staff clearly recorded every instruction, plan, policy, decision, agreement, and investigation. The British also believed that important documents and letters would serve as a valuable reference for the future administrators and researchers. So, record rooms were set up in the administrative units such as the village tehsildar's office, the collectorate, the commissioner's office, the provincial secretariats, and the law courts. Archives and museums were also established to preserve important records. The National Archives of India was originally established at the Imperial Record Department in 1891 in Calcutta, now Kolkata, which was then the capital of British India. In 1911, the National Archive of India was shifted to the new capital, that is New Delhi. In the early years of the 19th century, calligraphists used to make copies of government documents. However, by the middle of the 19th century, the use of the printing technology became widespread. Now, multiple copies of the records of government departments were made by printing. Now students, let us see another topic, that is surveys, which was an important source of history. The surveys conducted by the British also serve as an important source of colonial history. The British wanted to gather information about the various aspects of India and the life of its people so that the country could be administered effectively. From the early 19th century, they started conducting detailed surveys to map the entire country. These surveys gathered information about the topography, soil quality, flora and fauna, local histories, and the cropping pattern of different regions of India. By the end of the 19th century, conducting census also became an important function of surveys. The census conducted every 10 years provided important information about the size of population, caste, religions, and occupation of people living in different provinces of India. Students, as you know that Britishers provided important documents and letters for the future reference, but we cannot rely on these official record completely. So, now let us see the limitation of official records of the colonial history. The main limitation of official records is that they contain only those aspects which the government officials were interested in recording. Often, these records do not help us understanding what the other people felt and what guided their actions. For example, many images in the books produced by the British after 1857 depicted the Indian sepoys who participated in rebellion as greedy, vicious, and brutal. But the Indian historians do not agree with these depictions and write about these sepoys in glowing terms. Now, let us see another topic, that is non-official records of the colonial history. To get a non-official view of the colonial history, we need to access non-official records such as diaries of people, autobiographies of important personalities, accounts of pilgrims and travelers, and popular booklets that were sold in local bazaars. However, unlike official records, these records are difficult to access. Other non-official records of the colonial history are newspapers, the writings of readers and reformers, and the works of poets and novelists of the time. The newspapers, apart from providing news, also served as medium where divergent opinions on social and political issues could find place. But the newspaper content and other writings provide us a glimpse into the world of the people who were well read. They do not enlighten us about the experiences and the lives of illiterate people such as tribal people and peasants, mine workers, and the poor who lived on the streets. To know about their lives, we need to make an extra effort. We have to look for the information related to these people in the works and activities of the government and the other people.
So, this was the introduction chapter of colonial period in India. I hope you all have understood the chapter. You will read more about colonial period in the upcoming chapters. Till then, stay home, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.